Hafiday, I'm Uni Caballero from the Pacific Daily News, and here are our top stories from the PDN newsroom.
A $7.4 million project to install a new sewer infrastructure around the Atacao area in Mangilao, where a new hospital will be built, could boost development of the area, according to Tuesday's Consolidated Commission on Utilities work session. The Guam Water Works Authority will have to complete the install in order to replace septic systems in Atacao, GDOE General Manager Miguel Bordallo told the CCU. It's a requirement already laid out in GDOE's settlement with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Increased nitrate-nitrogen levels have been identified in 7 wells around Atacao, an issue often tied to nitrogen coming from septic systems and percolating into the island's aquifer, according to GDOE. Exposure to the contaminants can affect the health of residents, especially infants and the elderly. In other news, Part 2 of an audit of the Guam Homeland Security Office of Civil Defense will be released before year's end, this time looking at overtime costs at the agency. GHS OCD had a total of $42 million worth of costs flagged by auditors in June, which included payroll, contracting, inventory, and other transactions, according to a report from the Office of Public Accountability. Public Auditor Benjamin J. F. Cruz on Tuesday said the audit will look at overtime costs going back 5 years at GHS OCD. Scrutiny of overtime costs comes after both Homeland Security leadership and federal auditors flagged high staff turnover at the office as contributing factors to GHS OCD's failure to properly report spending of tens of millions of dollars in federal funds. And finally, the trial for Richard Nick Palma Espedion wrapped up Day 2 in District Court of Guam Chief Judge Francis Tydinko Gatewood's courtroom, with the government's top witness, John Boy Trey Duenas, still on the witness stand. Espedion faces 2 federal charges, possession of contraband in prison and a charge of possession with intent to distribute 50 or more grams of methamphetamine. His co-defendant Duenas has signed an agreement with the government and has agreed to testify against Espedion. Duenas pleaded guilty to possession of contraband in prison and will be sentenced at a later date. The charges stem from a big drug bust at the Department of Corrections on March 12, 2024. On that day, a canine patrol dog alerted its corrections officer handler about possible contraband inside a cell jointly occupied by Espedion and Duenas. The military is looking to new alternative construction methods to deal with the exorbitant cost of building on Guam, which could also help the fix of housing shortage outside the fence, according to experts at the Guam Industry Forum 2024. A single-family home that's 3,000 to 4,000 square feet can cost the Navy between $2.5 and $3 million to build. This is according to Naval Facilities Engineering Command Mariana's design director Evan Mizway at the 2-day forum last week. That cost comes after various stringent building requirements are met and after builders dealt with the soil contaminated with pesticides and unexploded ordnance on Guam, Mizway said. Those price tags are met with utter disbelief from leadership in Washington, D.C., according to Mizway. United States, in partnership with the Guam Visitors Bureau, on Tuesday announced that it's launching on April 2, 2025, direct nonstop service between Taipei, Taiwan, and Guam. The return of direct, regular air service between Taipei and Guam, which ended in early 2020 because of the pandemic, is expected to help boost island tourism, which is still below half of what they used to be prior to COVID-19. United, in a press release, said the new twice-weekly nonstop service is scheduled for Wednesdays and Saturdays in both directions. It will depart Guam at 7 a.m. and arrive in Taipei at 9:25 a.m. The return flight from Taipei to Guam will depart 11 a.m. and arrive in Guam at 4:50 p.m. United will operate the flights with Boeing 737-800 with 166 seats, 16 of which are business class. And finally, Guam Department of Education officials are considering reducing the number of nurses, counselors, librarians, and other non-teaching positions at all 41 public schools, besides plans to close or merge schools amid shrinking student population and budget. School officials and families gathered in Inalahan Middle School Monday night for GDOE's community engagement session on school maximization and right-sizing efforts. The session discussed strategies for addressing GDOE's current fiscal budget of $266 million and voiced concerns about proposed changes. The primary focus of the session was on maximizing resources and cutting redundancies. As part of the effort, GDOE is exploring the elimination of positions it believes are not essential to school operations. For more of these stories, go to GuamPDN.com and follow us on social media.